Hello guys, this is just one guy and this is my tutorial series, Unity for Noobs. Now in this episode what we're going to do is set up the touch input, and we're going to be doing something very simple, which is just pulling one touch and only one touch off the screen when we touch it. Now if you haven't watched the last episode and you don't know how to set up the Android environment in the Unity Remote 4, you should watch the last episode and go back and watch that before you do this, because this episode assumes that you already have the Unity environment set up, which you would need anyway, unless you want to build the project completely as an Android project and import it to your phone, which will take super long. So it's just easier and simpler to set up the Unity 4 remote, and if you don't know how to do it, watch the last tutorial. But for you who have watched the last tutorial and did the last tutorial, you should already have the Unity 4 remote set up and plugged in, and you should know that you had to do that before you open the project. So if you haven't done that, close the project and then plug the phone in and set up. Open the app for Unity Remote 4, and then open the project up so the project can read your phone before it opens. Otherwise, the project won't be able to read your phone, and you won't be able to access Unity Remote 4. Now that we're through with that, let's continue on, and we're just going to do a bit of setup. Now I've downloaded the standard assets and I've downloaded a couple of things in here. I haven't downloaded the complete standard assets. Essentially what I've downloaded is the cameras, the characters, the cross-platform input, which I don't think we'll need, but it's always good to have in a project. And it automatically downloaded the fonts, and automatically downloaded the physics material, and I've downloaded prototyping. This is the only one you'll need for this particular project, and that's because we just need a floor inside of it. And I've downloaded utilities because that's always useful too. Now another thing, just for organizational purposes, just create a file called RPG game and create one file inside of it called scripts and another one called scenes. Now this is just to hold our data and the files, the scenes and stuff that we create, like the scripts and the scenes, just so we can hold it, just so we can keep track of it. Okay, let's get down to it. Excuse me. First, let's just go to the standard assets, prototyping. Let's go to the prefabs. Let's go to the floor. This particular one was it floor prototype 64 by x1 times 64, and that's the biggest one they have. That's the one we want. We're just gonna put it, drop it in our scene. Then we're gonna set the position X to 0, the position Y to 0, the position Z to 0. And next we're going to go to game object, 3D object, and we're going to get a capsule, create the capsule. It's going to create the scene automatically. Set the position X to 0, the position Y to 1, and the position Z to 0. And this is just so that we can find the character and the floor no matter what. Now we're going to rename this floor, and we're going to rename this player. Now we're going to change this out after a while, but this is going to be our player right now, just for testing purposes. Now go inside the RPG game, RPG scripts, and what you want to do is create a script called player controller. Now we're using C#. I will be posting both in C# and JavaScript, but just because more people write in C#, I'm going to write it in C#, even though I hate C#. Okay, now I have two scripts here, but you're only going to have one player controller. Just create that one and put it inside here, and don't forget to save your scene inside scenes. I'm calling my scene opening, but you can call yours whatever you want. Just remember the name of it for later purposes. When we go online, the name of the scene is going to be important, so you're going to want to remember it. Okay, now this script right here is just a pre-written script that I wrote just to save time and make sure that everything is exact. You're not going to need this script, you're just going to need the player controller script. Now let's go into the scripts. Now since I've already done this tutorial by accident, accident a couple of times just to make sure everything worked. Just gonna delete that right there. Okay, let's go into the pre-written script. Now the first thing I want to go over is the touches input right here. Now touches right here is an array, and we're circling through the array to find the touch ID. But first I want to explain touches. What touches are is an array of each time you touch the phone, it reads the touches and it assigns each touch an ID. Now that's not each finger, it just assigns each time you touch the screen, it assigns it an ID, like 0 touch, 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch, 4 touch. I believe it goes up to 10 touches, but I'm not exactly sure. So that's what we want to access right now, and what we're accessing it for is just to get the touch ID, and we're setting this int right here to that we created to the touch finger ID, and that just reads the ID. Now what we're looking for is touch ID 0, since we're only looking for 1 touch. And when we find it, what we're going to do is print out finger is touching the screen, and we're going to print the touch ID. Now let's go over input touch count. What input touch count is the amount of times you're touching the screen. And this may seem redundant, but it's not. But the amount of times you're touching the screen, we just want specifically 1. Now when you touch the screen once, it's going to be 1, and when you touch the screen once, it's going to be 2, and when you touch the screen twice, it's going to be 3, and so on and so on. Now the reason this is different from the touches is the touch array, it assigns each time you touch a finger ID, and you can read the touches differently, while this just holds the amount of times you touch the phone within this touch phase. Now let's explain input touch count again. Now when I did it this way before, I got an error, and I just had to make sure there was at least 1 touch, and just make sure that we're at least touching the phone once, and it just says if touch count is greater than 0. And now we're going to go into input get touch and dot phase, and what we want to read is the phase of touch that we're touching the phone. We want the begin phase, and I'll explain this in a minute. Now what I want right here is we're going into the API, and we're going to see all the different touch phases that a touch could be in. Now the beginning phase is just input dot touch down. Like input dot get key down, or input dot get button down. That's when you first touch the screen, when you first lay your finger on the screen, and that's what that is. Moved is unique to a phone. It doesn't correspond to any other input, like on the keyboard or on the controller. What it does is it's when you drag your finger. Now this assumes that you're already holding it down, and you begin touching the screen, and you moved your finger, and that's what it reads. And these are all basically explained here. I'm just going into a little deeper explanation. Stationary is like get button or get touch. Get key. Just get key. And what it is if you had a gun and you wanted to auto fire by the player just holding their finger down on the screen, this is what that is. And it just reads you continuously holding your finger down on the screen. And then you have ending, which is like get button up or get key up. It's just when you pull your finger off the screen. And this is the end of the touch. When you pull your finger off the screen, it says no longer reading any touch phase at all, and basically you just stop touching the phone. Now that's the end of that. This right here is just for the next tutorial when I show you how to do the corresponding thing with the mouse. But that's it. I believe that's it. Now we're just going to take this code for the sake of time, copy and paste it. And I think we have an error. See if that fixes it. No, that did not. That created more errors. Must be missing one. Okay. Let's just check this out. Okay, I see. I should have saw that before. 2 updates. And everything is fine. Okay, let's just save this. Wait for this to compile. Hurry up. Okay, it's done compiling. Go to the player, put the player controller on it, hit play, and right now the game should be popping up on your Unity 4 your Unity Remote 4 app, and when you touch the phone you should see this, and on the bottom you can see it printed it. Finger is touching the screen and the touch ID is 0. And you can see if I touch it again, it'll keep going up. And right now I'm going to touch it with 2 fingers and you can see that it's not going to read it. See, it only reads 1 touch, and we've designed it that way specifically so it only reads 1 touch. And if you have 2 or 3 fingers or even 4 fingers on the phone, it's not going to read it. It's simply going to read that 1 touch. Oh, it accidentally did read a 2nd touch. Well, I guess it works 99% of the time. But that's how you get a single touch. Now, in the next tutorial, what I'm going to be doing is showing you how to use that touch to move a character to a spot. That's it for today. Thank you for watching.